Our final panel of the day is a brief introduction to our professional organization, NACADA, and its opportunities. The panel will be moderated by Joy Carr, Director of University Advising at West Virginia University. We are also joined by Doris Munoz, Assistant Provost for Student Retention and Persistence, as well as a recently elected NACADA Mid-South Region 3 Chair. Jen Jones, Senior Academic Advisor at West Virginia University, and Sarah Davis, Director of Academic Advising at Marshall University.
Thank you so much, Dee. Welcome, everybody, to our final panel of the day. You've held in there with us, and it's all about NACADA resources. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with our professional organization, the National Academic Advising Association, or NACADA, the Global Community for Academic Advising. And we wanted to take just a little bit of time here at the end to talk about why membership is valuable, some of the ways you can get involved, why you might want to do that, along with what's coming up in the organization. I'm so happy to welcome our panelists, and I actually can think of no better person today than Dr. Munoz to give us an explanation of why advisors should join in the first place, or why we should get more involved if we are current members. So I will ask her to answer that all-important question.
Thank you so much, Joy. And what a big question. That is definitely a big question. So thank you guys for having me today. As Joy said, I am the incoming chair for the Region 3, and I look forward to working with you all and serving you all over the next 2 years in my term as the chair of the region. So what is NACADA, and why is it important to have a global connection? Well, as you all know, or maybe some of you are new to advising and you don't know, but NACADA is it's a global community for academic advising. Throughout the organization, what we do is we provide innovative and explore opportunities for advisors to grow through various forms of professional development and personal growth. The organization is inclusive. They are global. They promote scholarly research, and they help create an environment that is safe to all of our members. So why is the connection to this organization is important? NACADA provides for all professionals regionally and globally professional outreach opportunities for growth and development. So throughout my career, I know I have spent the past 15 years of my career in student affairs. So academic advising and academic affairs was all new to me until just a few years ago. When I made that transition, I knew I needed to get connected somehow, some way. And I found my home to be within NACADA. And that organization helped me. So by participating in the learning communities, I was able to connect with others who were experiencing the same kind of challenges that I saw that I was facing here at my institution. By connecting with the scholarly articles, I was able to read up on current trends, challenges, and show research that has been done throughout the profession to help me be able to grow my advising department here at my university. And then by connecting with Region 3, I was able to meet with amazing professionals and learn ways that I can not only be a better advisor for my students, but also become a champion for them. As an administrator now in my new role as the assistant provost, I now oversee all academic advising. NACADA still helps me every single day show my administration that, hey, if we're going to make a change, here's how and here's why it's needed. And then I'm able to take what I've learned through NACADA and the connections that I've made and make the change and do it. So NACADA just provides for me that network to be able to do so.
Thank you so much for that. And I think our second panelist, Jen Jones, really will sort of bring that even more to life, because one of the things you're going to get as an attendee is a bunch of follow-up information and materials and a website link, and you can click on that link and see everyone's bios. And if you look at Jen Jones, you'll just see it just strewn with all kinds of NACADA participation, whether that's conference volunteering or reading of proposals. And so she's going to talk just a little bit about those experiences and why those are important for individual advisors.
All right. Hi, everyone. So NACADA is a fabulous way to get involved. One of my favorite things is my network of colleagues across the world. I was lucky enough to go to an international conference pre-COVID. So we met and talked with people from the Netherlands, from Germany, from all over. And they have different names for what they do and some different processes. But a lot of times when you talk to people at a NACADA events or through NACADA, you realize everyone's going through the same things. We all have the same frustrations. We all have the same triumphs. The same things that keep us in the job are pretty universal. So that's kind of a nice validation. So there are tons of ways to get involved. I will kind of give a disclaimer. NACADA does want you to be a member to really get involved. And so I think Sarah may talk about this, but getting departmental or administrative support is really key. So if you're going to co-chair a conference, which we'll have a West Virginia Region 3 conference coming soon, I do recommend co-chairing, not chairing it all by yourself. It's a lot of work. And I recommend having a really strong planning committee. So then you can pull people in from different schools, kind of like we did for this event today. But you can get involved a little bit easier. You can do a reading position where you're willing to get on and review conference proposals and you can put your comments. I always recommend please be nice. don't be mean in those, because sometimes, man, people are brutal when you read those. Sometimes that anonymity of, hey, they don't know who looked at it, but it's a good way of seeing what is being offered for conference proposals. You can read for award nominations. So we have Region 3 awards, which is the 5 states that make our region. And we also have annual awards for the global community. So those are both really good ways of, again, getting inspired. It's really a feel good to read award packets and see like, wow, the wonderful things people are saying about others. If you're passionate about research and publishing, you can write information and submit it to several different things through NACADA. They have a journal, they have like a newsletter. They even will let you, if you want to get on and read one of the books they have, you can kind of do a book report on it. And it's a good way of getting your name out there and something for your resume. So sometimes I think the work we do, we can have nonstop appointments, walk-ins, emails, and we're giving a lot to other people. So sometimes getting involved in NACADA allows you to do something that can be fulfilling in a different way and can help be inspiring and get you excited about why you're here. So there's a lot of things that you can do volunteering at a conference. They often will have people, first-time people, volunteer to check people in, check people out, count and take, I think they've gone mostly digital for reviewing each session. You can present. And so if you're not sure if you want to do a 60-minute concurrent session, they have poster sessions. If you do want to do a 60-minute, but not all by yourself, maybe get a group of friends together. And once you get to know people in the NACADA community, you don't have to just have a colleague or someone else at your college or university. You can get people from anywhere and present together. I will give you another disclaimer. A lot of schools are similar to us in West Virginia, where we may have to fight a little bit more for funding. So you'll see that if you're behind the scenes, some people will put in 5 to 6 different presentation proposals because they can't travel unless they're presenting. So they really don't want to do 5 or 6 presentations, but they want to have the funding to present. So you don't get discouraged if you're not chosen. They do give priority to people who have presented before and received good marks on their presentations. So maybe do a couple or do one by yourself and one with some other people. Anything else you wanted me to cover, Joy?
Feel free to jump in when we start talking about buy-in for sure, though, Jen. And I think one of the things I want to touch on that you said is it's something to put on your resume. With advisors, most schools, well, I shouldn't say most schools. I haven't been to most schools, but I know at least with our network of schools, the pathway to promotion is not straightforward. There are not always leadership experiences within your own unit that are accessible to you. And for some advisors, you may not you may be the only one in your unit who is doing that work. So figuring out how to integrate into the regional and the national volunteering for these things is a great way to demonstrate how you get some of that experience when those experiences may not always be available to you at your own institution. And for a lot of us, it's not really a matter of not wanting to have further professional development, but as others have mentioned, trying to get that buy-in from the people who pay off your state P card, right, to allow you to travel and go to conferences. So I'm hoping Sarah will be able to tell us a little bit about how she and her team have helped generate some of that buy-in for professional development funding, because I think that that ties back into narrative and how we explain what we do is valuable and things of that nature. So, Sarah, do you have any tips and tricks for us that way?
Well, I don't know if there are too many tips, but I can tell you a little bit about our experience. So, as I was talking about earlier, we do have strong advising advocacy in our administration. So that is great. However, I did pull up like some communication from when I started asking for it, and a lot of it's back to what Doris started talking about. Is I laid out a very long email about how being part of NACADA, what are all the benefits that we're going to see? 14,000 members, we're going to get access to this, we're going to get access to these communities, these opportunities that we don't have outside of this community. If we're not members, we're going to pay for each webinar, we're going to pay more, we're going to have higher fees than if we're just all members of it. So part of it was sending links and sending it information surge to administration for why I was advocating for it for our teams. Also included in my request, that we can't use our funds to be members, but we can use our funds to travel. So, if you spot us on the memberships, then the rest of it, we might ask for help a little bit, but we would be able to swing the travel ourselves. And within the advising council, we talked about how important being part of NACADA was, and we had then people advocating for that in their individual colleges as well. So our lead advisors in all of our colleges were able to talk to their deans and associate deans about funding travel. The other part that I think is important is to make it full circle. So every time something happens related to NACADA, I send up an email, thank you for your support. Here's something that happened because you supported us. So, we've had one of our advisors won a regional award. We've had presentations at regional. We have a presentation at national. We have one of our advisors sent in a blog post, so one of the NACADA writing things. So every time something happens that's with NACADA, I say, hey, I just want to let you know what your support is funding. So your support has funded us. This is what we're doing with it. So just keep it full circle. They don't always respond to those, but I know at least I've sent it up there and they've seen it. So showing that it's worthwhile. We do try to keep our expenses low then too. So whenever we're traveling, we're all traveling in shared vehicles, things like that. But that's not really a tip. That's just how we all have to do it. So I think making a plea for how it benefits us and then keeping that moving full circle, how it can benefit us, and then showing like the rewards from being a part of this has been influential, because now every time the yearly renewal comes around, our admins just work with the invoice. I don't have to make that plea every year. It's part of that we all will be members, but I do continue to send up the good news.
That's great. Doris, would you, in your administrative experience, what would you add about creating that buy-in? I think Sarah makes a great point. Once it's started, the expectation that you can renew your membership and periodically get to go to things like the conferences is a whole lot easier than that first initial push. But do you, kind of putting you on the spot here, but do you have any examples of some effective outreach to administrators or ways that seem to make more of a difference in your experience in student services?
I'm sorry, Joy, did you ask me a question? I'm sorry, I had to log out, log back in. My Wi-Fi went
I
down.
saw your mute popping on and off. I wondered. I was just wondering if you had anything in your experience in student services, particularly as an administrator, that might be useful for folks to think about as they go back into their own units to make that pitch.
Yes, I would say suggest kind of like what Sarah was doing, just helping your administration see the benefits of it. And the return on investment here, our advisors are going to be becoming better advisors. We're going to be better serving our students. Share with them the types of presentations that's being presented at the conferences so that your supervisors and your administrators know what's being talked about. What are those hot topics? Because in their day-to-day, they don't go through and read the NACADA emails. They don't go through, they read the higher ed, but they're not the experts in this field. You are. So it's up to you to make sure that you're communicating up and leading up by helping your administrators and your university leaders understand what is growing needs and how can we become a better institution as it relates with our advising.
Joy, could I jump in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so something else I think parallel to that is to also talk about, oh gosh, Amia just left me, but to talk about what ideas you've learned at a conference or through the publications and implemented and the success it's had. So that means a little bit of legwork, but a lot of times people who hold the money strings want to see that what they're paying for is making an impact because they're responsible for allowing things as well. So that sometimes that can help.
Thank you. That's a really good point. Again, it all goes back to getting better at telling the pieces of our story, right? And thinking about who's hearing those stories and what they need to know about it. Some information for everybody about upcoming NACADA events. So the National NACADA Conference, and I'll send all this out in a follow-up email to participants. But the National Conference is October the 4th to 7th in Orlando. And if you can't make that one, next year it's in Pittsburgh, which for some of us is probably the closest it's ever going to get. I will say publicly and in a recorded session, I'm working extremely hard to see if we can get a Let's Go bus from WVU to just bus some of us up there. We've got a lot of budget challenges, but I'm trying to find ways to reduce the barrier of cost so that we can go as a group. So that's the national conference. Our Region 3 conference is happening April 15th to 17th in Greenville, South Carolina. And again, there's a great opportunity for awards and proposals that we can still submit. For that, I would encourage everyone who presented today to think about submitting to regional, because that information is so important, and especially our two-year schools. Those are some great examples for other two-year institutions in the region, right? And awards as well. They also offer some periodic workshops and insightful conversation. For example, for members, there's an upcoming chat on September the 19th called Understanding the Impact of Court and Legislative Actions on Advising Practice in NACADA Region 3. So I'm sure that's DEI focused. I'm sure that will be covering the recent Supreme Court decision that has impacted some schools. So there's always something going on. And if you're a member and you have access to those things, a great way may be to share some of that with your colleagues who may not be members and sit in together and see, what you may be able to get out of it. At the state level, I think what we would like to do is put together some very informal sessions for folks who think they want to submit awards and have their packet read early before they go into submission, or have their proposals looked at to see if we can get a group of us together, no matter what school you're from in West Virginia, so that we can read your work and offer you some suggestions before you submit it on to the region. And generally just making sure that we are better networked, right? So you can expect to see emails coming forward from your WV liaison for Region 3 activities to kind of keep you in the loop for that. So, and if you want more connections to talk about any of these things, you can email advisinghelp@mail.wvu.edu. I'll put that as well in our follow-up emails, and we will make sure to get you connected to the parts of NACADA that you want to know more about, or other presenters who may have presented today. And we'll highlight all that information in the follow-up email to registrants.